Custom React Development Services, What Enterprise Teams Should Expect. Hey, welcome. In this video, we're breaking down Custom React Development Services, What Enterprise Teams Should Expect. Let's get into it. Now, moving on to what does a React development company do for enterprise teams? A React development company designs, builds, and maintains custom web interfaces using React, handling everything from architecture decisions and component libraries to CI/CD pipelines and post-launch support. For enterprise teams, the scope goes significantly beyond writing components. At Q Services, we structure our React development services across 3 layers: discovery, build, and operations. Most enterprise teams underestimate the 3rd layer until something breaks in production at 2 a.m. Before writing a single line of JSX, a good React partner maps the existing system. Which APIs does the UI consume? Is there a design system in place, or does one need to be built? What are the authentication requirements, such as Azure Entra ID, SAML, or OAuth? These decisions carry downstream consequences that are expensive to reverse 6 months into a build. Now, next up, React Development Services built for the Microsoft Azure ecosystem. Most enterprise teams running Microsoft-first technology stacks don't want React apps in isolation. They want React apps that run on Azure, authenticate through Entra ID, and connect to Azure-hosted APIs and services. This is where React Development Services and Azure Consulting Services converge. Q Services is a Microsoft-certified solutions partner specializing in Azure, which means our React engagements include infrastructure planning from day one rather than treating deployment as an afterthought. Azure Cloud Migration Services for React frontends cover selecting the right hosting model, Azure Static Web Apps, Azure App Service, Azure Front Door with CDN, or containerized deployments on Azure Kubernetes Service. The right option depends on traffic patterns, geographic distribution, and how the frontend integrates with backend APIs. Now, moving on to how do Azure DevOps Consulting Services support React CI/CD pipelines? Building a React application is only part of the work. Getting it from a developer's laptop to production reliably and without manual steps is where many enterprise projects break down. Our Azure DevOps Consulting Services cover the full pipeline from commit to deployment. For context on how we instrument developer-facing tooling inside Azure DevOps itself, see how we built a time tracker that lives inside Azure DevOps work items. A mature React CI/CD pipeline runs unit tests, integration tests, end-to-end tests, and a lighthouse performance audit on every pull request. Quality gates block merges if coverage drops below threshold or core web vitals regress. Deployment slots on Azure App Service let you validate a release against a fraction of real traffic before committing the full swap. Let's talk about next up, modernizing legacy apps, React and Azure App Modernization together. A large share of enterprise React development services work isn't greenfield. It's modernization, replacing aging UIs built on Angular 1, jQuery, or ASP.NET Web Forms with a React frontend while migrating backend services to Azure. Our Legacy App Modernization Guide covers the rewrite versus refactor decision in depth. Azure App Modernization adds the cloud dimension to this work. The legacy application may run on an on-premise Windows server. The modernized React frontend will run in Azure, authenticated through Entra ID, with APIs deployed to Azure App Service or Azure Functions. A lift and shift to Azure moves the existing application to Azure infrastructure without changing the code. This cuts operational overhead but doesn't improve the user experience or the maintainability of the front-end code. For organizations where the legacy UI is genuinely unusable, lift and shift is a temporary step toward a React rebuild, not a destination in itself. Now, moving on to when should enterprise teams choose React over Power Apps? This question comes up in almost every discovery call, and the answer depends on context. Our Power Apps versus Power Automate guide covers the low-code decision tree in detail. As a Power Platform development company and React development partner, Q Services helps clients draw the right boundary based on maintenance requirements, user base, and performance needs. Power Automate consulting and Power Platform governance work runs alongside our React practice in most enterprise engagements because most large organizations need both. Power Apps development services work well for internal productivity tools with straightforward data models, approval forms, inspection checklists, simple dashboards pulling from SharePoint or Dataverse. A 50-user internal tool often ships 2 to 3 times faster in Power Apps than in React, and business users can maintain it without a development retainer. For Power BI consulting services, embedded Power BI reports work well when the audience's internal and design customization requirements are modest. Next up, now, evaluating your React development partner, enterprise checklist. Not every React development shop is ready to work in enterprise environments. Before signing an engagement, your team should work through both categories below. The answers will tell you whether you're looking at a front-end contractor or a genuine delivery partner. Let's talk about now how Q Services delivers React development services at enterprise scale. Q Services is a React development partner for enterprise teams and a Microsoft certified solutions partner with more than 500 completed Azure and Microsoft platform projects since 2014. Our React practice runs as part of a broader Microsoft platform capability that includes Azure migration partner engagements, Azure infrastructure assessment, Power Platform development, and Dynamics 365 integration. We apply enterprise integration patterns to every React engagement because enterprise React apps rarely talk to a single API. They pull data from Dynamics 365, SharePoint, Azure SQL, and third-party services simultaneously. The integration architecture matters as much as the component library design. Every React project we take on starts with a structured Azure architecture review covering hosting model selection, network security configuration, Entra ID identity integration, monitoring setup with application insights, and cost modeling. The review document is shared with your team so infrastructure decisions are transparent and auditable before development begins. This review identifies cost savings opportunities and capacity planning requirements before any infrastructure is provisioned. Next up, let's talk about conclusion. React development services at the enterprise level require more than front-end expertise. They require a partner who understands the cloud infrastructure those applications run on, the DevOps pipelines that deploy them, and the business workflows they need to connect with. Q Services brings Microsoft certified expertise across Azure Consulting Services, Azure DevOps Consulting Services, and Power Platform to every React engagement. If your team is planning a React build or modernization project and needs a partner with a proven enterprise delivery record, request a React development quote today. We scope engagements transparently, include an Azure infrastructure assessment in the discovery phase, and provide the documentation your internal teams need to own the application long-term.